Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we're going to be discussing from parts counter to profit center, building a profitable parts e-commerce strategy. Ted, this is a very timely topic and we have a very special guest with us.
Sarah, you're so right. We're hearing more and more success stories about parts and e-commerce. We want to welcome Nathan Pederson from SimplePart. Nathan, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Sarah.
Well, I want to kick things off, Nathan, with talking a little bit about profitability first. So, if a dealer is not already selling parts online, why should they do so? And what kind of results could they expect?
Yeah, so one of the things to keep in mind is, as we all know, everybody likes to shop online. It's about efficiency and price, right? A lot of dealerships have websites, and when you go to service or parts and you try to order, you have to fill out a, submittal form. Well, submittal forms take time. It takes, individuals away from answering the phone or whatever it may be. Um, you know, E-commerce isn't about chasing online sales. It's actually about improving parts gross and absorption.
That's a great point, Nathan. And how important is it that parts e-commerce and a parts e-commerce solution is built around dealer profitability and not just online sales?
Yeah, so one thing we've noticed is that our customers are seeing 25% of their sales and further 36% during like evening hours. So during those core business hours, they're getting about 25% of their sales online, and they're seeing a greater sale of parts and accessories after hours, which is business. If you don't have an e-commerce site, that's lost sales. That's lost net gross. We're also seeing that up to 33% of OEM vehicle owners have started to shop from OEM program supported sites.
Yep. And Nathan, you're so right. I'm thinking back. I remember the old saying, "You got to be there for the taker, not the maker." I'm remembering when uh, dealerships first got online to sell cars 24/7 and had a website, and that was a new frontier. And Nathan, this is the frontier now. It's parts and it's e-commerce, and you've got to be there when the customer is looking. Let's talk a little bit about data and trust. Nathan, how does accurate OEM data and fitment confidence impact customer trust and conversion?
So one of the things to remember is that data, having accurate data, especially fitment data, builds a lot of trust within your customer base. Having accurate fitment data is the digital version of your best parts counter person. Another thing to remember is when the data is right, customers buy with confidence.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Those are great points, Nathan. And, also too, I mean, the website and the strategy, behind it, and also the strategy executing from that lead or, the opportunities online is so important. So what is the difference between a basic parts website and a true e-commerce strategy?
So I would say a standalone website creates a little bit more work, kind of how I mentioned earlier. Filling out that submission form, it takes individuals away from, you know, their day to day. What an integrated e-commerce strategy does is it is a revenue engine. So it's that gross that you didn't have before. It's a completely different customer base.
Makes a lot of sense. Um, that front counter for parts, little by little, Nathan. Okay, there's less and less there, and the action is now online for all of us, all of our consumers. We shop that way. Let's talk about growing beyond the local market. Some of the things that you've been mentioning here. How is im- how important is it for retail dealers who are watching this today to reach customers beyond just their local market area?
Yeah. So one thing to think about is your service drive is local, but your parts business doesn't have to be.
You know,
And e-commerce allows you to turn non-moving or slow-moving parts into revenue by reaching a larger regional or national audience. And with that being said, having like a dynamic pricing and really working on SEO and paid marketing and merchandising, it allows for continuous improvement for you to keep reaching those larger audiences and being competitive.
And what about dealers who fear things like losing control of uh, things like pricing or even the brand?
No, totally a very common fear.
Yeah,
One of the things I do is my main goal is to make the business money. It's not a race to the bottom. I
right.
want them to actually get gross. So I listen. What is your appetite for volume? Do you
Mhm.
want to be a big volume player? Do you want to, grow your business by 10, 13, 15%? And listening to them and coming up with a good pricing strategy to be dynamic, especially in like a regional aspect, to really hit that nice sweet spot where it's not a race to the bottom, but listening to the parts managers, the GMs, the service directors, and really coming up with a strategy to execute.
Well, and Nathan, a big component of how successful these conversions online are really comes down to the customer experience. And so I'm curious, what are the biggest reasons that you see customers not completing a parts purchase online, and how can dealers fix that?
So, in my experience, a lot of things that I've noticed is, when customers drop off, they're not necessarily trusting that data. Kind of back to our earlier,
Okay.
question. They're not trusting the fitment. They don't understand the shipping that's happening. You know what's going on, or hitting friction during checkout. So having really accurate shipping rates for the end consumer. Having a as frictionless as possible checkout experience. Really helps drive those conversions in the cart.
And Nathan, your platform, SimplePart, you really help dealers with that. You help them with, let's say, driving basket size. And I'm curious, what are some of the most effective ways to increase the average order? Because you work with so many dealers, when it comes to parts e-commerce.
No, absolutely. So, um, one of the things I always try to, especially talking with individuals that may not be as used to e-commerce, or they're just starting to get into it, is really getting their mindset to change in terms of like repair jobs, or individual parts, and also helping push their accessory sales instead of it just being at POS, point of sale, with the sales team, right? There's always opportunities, even if somebody does like a local pickup when they're coming in, helping teach them tools to use to push an accessory upgrade that somebody didn't necessarily think about. Service while they're there, picking up said part, for the DIYer. You know, really working on increasing order size will help improve their gross profits at the end of the day, and finding little tips and tricks to help them do that.
And Nathan, you're so right about, these strategies, because, I'm thinking about the role of marketing and how many times when I'm shopping online and I see, would you like to add this additional item that relates to what I'm originally searching for? Those pieces are so important, not only for the customer experience, but again, in that revenue strategy. So, how important is digital marketing today in driving part sales, and what are the key things which drive success in it?
Yeah, so marketing is what's going to fuel the pipeline. Without it, your e-commerce channel is just, lack of better terms, it's just sitting there. You have it, but if you're not marketing, you're not fueling that pipeline. Paid searches really capture high intent buyers, and search engine optimization (SEO) really builds long term demand for your inventory and helps bring back those repeat buyers.
Nathan, I'm curious, what makes top performing dealers so successful in e-commerce on the SimplePart platform?
So, top performing fixed ops teams and parts counter and parts directors and parts managers, treat e-commerce like an extension of their department, not a side project, so that they fully integrate it. They don't treat it as like a little side project to the
Right.
side. They're actively managing. You asked before. Some parts managers or parts directors are a little weary. Like, do I get to control my pricing? You absolutely do. Managing their pricing, managing and monitoring their inventory performance, and engaging with the channel.
Nathan, speaking of inventory performance, one of the factors that a lot of parts departments really are thinking about when it comes to their e-commerce strategy is really, all of the fundamentals that really impact online sales performance. So, how do inventory availability, fulfillment, shipping, and other e-commerce fundamentals impact the overall sales performance that dealerships are experiencing?
Yeah, so inventory and fulfillment, every mispick or delay, even if there's not a mispick, but you're taking too long to capture the order, process the order, ship it out, you know, creates rework, and rework kills efficiency and ultimately profitability and growth. Having fast and accurate fulfillment protects your team's time and your store's reputation. We all get those Google reviews, and we all want to have those good ones, right? So being able to maintain that and have an inventory strategy behind going after that e-commerce business will set you up for success.
We're speaking to Nathan Pederson. He's with a company called SimplePart, simplepart.com. And Nathan, for our audience that's watching today, for a dealer, let's say just starting out, here we are in the middle of the second quarter. What are the two, maybe the three things that they should focus on first to see results quickly getting into parts e-commerce?
Yeah, so I would say to start out first, make sure your process is simple and it doesn't add complexity to your team. It needs to be seamless, part of their everyday today. You don't want to make it complex. Another thing to focus on would be focus on high demand parts and accessories, and using a pricing matrix that reflects that. You already know what you sell a lot of. You know, have an accurate pricing for that. To be competitive. Your business will already have an EPC, and working with SimplePart, it's easy to turn this EPC data into an online profit center. The platform takes care of everything else you need. I mean, it's not as simple as plug and play, but it's about as close as you can get.
Well, Nathan, for some closing questions for you today, I know a lot of our dealer audience that's listening is thinking about parts e-commerce, getting started, or how they can continue to scale their strategies or modify what they're doing over the next 12 to 18 months. So I'm curious, what does a best in class parts e-commerce operation look like in 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, so a best in class, fixed ops department is going to use e-commerce to improve absorption and stabilize parts revenue. It runs as a seamless extension to the parts department, not a separate operation. They are one and the same. And most importantly, it generates profitable growth without adding operational strain. Doing these things will make it a success for the fixed ops department and grow revenue.
And Nathan, I see that you have an ebook that's out, okay, from Parts Counter to Profit Center. Is that something our audience can get their hands on and start looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a beautifully put together white paper. It's a few minute read, and it will give amazing insights into e-commerce and how we can help grow your parts department revenue.
All right. We're putting that information on the screen for you, everybody, so that you can access that. Nathan Pederson, what a great time to be in fixed ops. What a great time to be in parts e-commerce. We can just feel the activity there, and it's amazing. So thank you for all you do for the industry.
Absolutely. Again, Ted, Sarah, I really appreciate your time today. It's been great speaking with you, and look forward to all the future interactions with everybody in fixed ops, and have a great rest of your day.
Nathan, you as well. Everybody, parts e-commerce is here. SimplePart has the platform that can help you. Nathan Pederson from SimplePart, an info media company, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.